Okay, different topic. Spence Fundora. You know, they're rumored to be fighting. It seems like things are headed that way. Spence's first fight back after a really tough loss to Bud Crawford. First fight at 154. And he'd be fighting Fundora, who is a tough, tall opponent, rangy, and likes to get in there and mix it up. How do you see that fight going? And do you have any concerns for Spence based on everything I just said? Layoff, tough loss, coming back right into this.
Yeah, there's, you know, this fight's been rumored since, you know, March 30th, I believe. Spence got in the ring that night, right? Didn't he get up in the ring?
Mm-hmm.
You know, so it looked like the forecast for a long time, right? But Fundora got this time off. I saw a few interviews of Spence. He's looking like he's already, you know, back in shape, back and taking care of himself, which is very important for athletes. And just in the sport of boxing, you know, you have these moments where you lose focus, you know, you have it, but how did you really get it? You got to where we got with a certain level of focus and determination. As you can be determined, but if your focus dies, you know, you can be focused, but if that determination dies. So these things go hand in hand. And as long as he's able to establish that before camp and just be determined and focused, I believe that he can reestablish himself in the world of boxing and potentially at 154. Now, Fundora is just one of those guys. Can you beat Fundora? Yeah, you can beat Fundora, but are you going to beat Fundora? You know? And you know, people like to say, oh, well, when he's knocked out, now he doesn't matter. He's knocked out, he became champion again. Mario Barrios got knocked out by Tank, schooled by me, he became champion again. Like I said, focus and determination makes champions. You bring that together with a proper camp, no BS, you cut out all the BS, and you can put on a world-class performance against world-class athletes, and anything can happen. But Fundora with that lankiness, you know, knowing that my man Spence was 147 on 147, you know, you get that towering inferno, you know, and it's just, every fight has its own obstacles, but the height and reach of that athlete in the 154 division is an obstacle for everyone, you know, and it's styles makes fights. How do you conquer this dilemma? You know, how do you combat it? What strategy? What can you do? You know, Tim Tszyu, he showed so much heart, but you know, due to the cut, due to the blood, and just moving forward, willing to take a few shots, but never quite bridging the gap that he needed, you know, against the long arm Fundora. That's just a challenge that is going to be opposed against everybody, and some may prevail and many may not. And so that's a big question out there.
Do you have a favorite in that fight? Like, who would you favor, Fundora or Spence?
I don't have a favorite because there's certain things that I like about Fundora, but there's a lot that I didn't like about his last performance. And, you know, obviously, for those who watched it, they're going to know what I'm talking about. For those who didn't watch the fight, Fundora was very jab heavy, right? Which is, you want to maintain the distance. I got no problem with that. Work the jab, but what's behind it? You know, the lacking of just simple 2-punch combinations, simple 3-punch combinations behind the jab, it dissatisfied me. I mean, for multiple reasons. One, it was supposed to be my night, okay?
Hello.
For multiple reasons, I was dissatisfied, okay? Just a few days before the fight kicked off, the surgery already took place. So my surgery happened on the 27th of March, and the fight was March 30th, you know? So I was in California at a friend's house watching the fight. And, you know, the action that I was prepared to bring into the ring just wasn't prevalent that night with Fundora's strategy. You know, you want to win. You know, sometimes it's not about proving how tough you are, and I get that, but I still believe in multiple scenarios, because he was controlling the distance so well and he was working the jab. If you got the time to throw 12 jabs in 12 seconds, you got the time to throw a straight left and maybe a right hook to the body. You know, so there's just seeing how much Fundora wants it and seeing that fighter that we used to see in Fundora. I want to see some of that action back. I hope he has a little bit more confidence after getting through that fight, and that he, you know, I mean, there's risk reward, but I hope he takes a little bit more risk, and I believe if he does it properly, he will gain the reward. The fight was close. I think it easily would not have been close with a few of those combinations I was talking about. A few more 2-punch combinations and about 2 to 3 3-punch combinations per round, and I think it's clearly a landslide from Fundora instead of the close matchup, because it was so jab heavy. So I'm not a big fan of his last performance, which doesn't make me really look forward to the Spence fight. If I have to rewatch that, you know, it's just not entertaining to my likeliness, which is going to make me want Spence to press the action, be the dominating factor, and beat Fundora. So Fundora is going to have to show me another performance before I'm going to like him again. I like some things I've seen in the past. The adjustments he's making now, it shows tendencies of a scared fighter, and I want to see a true champion.
There you go. Now, in the event that Spence wins that fight, you obviously realize the talk is going to become lining him back up for a rematch with Bud. And before I ask you your thoughts on that, just a question for you. Look, in your career, at one point, you held all the cards in your hand, and there was talks of maybe you fighting Bud. Do you ever regret not fighting Bud? Do you ever think about, like, man, I wish that fight would have happened?
The year I was going to fight Bud was the year I was going to fight Pacquiao, so no.
Oh, there you go.
I was in Tokyo when I got the call for Bud. I was in Tokyo when I got the call for Pacquiao. So I don't regret that. I still would love to fight Bud. I want to get into the 154 division. I know these people want to fight one another. I'm not interested in Bud and Spence, you know, after the first performance. So
do you think anything changes in a rematch?
I mean, he's going to have to show us something in the Fundora fight that proves that, you know, for whatever reason, that lack of focus was there in the first fight. And when he rekindles that focus and determination and he looks like the truth once again, then potentially it could spark interest in the rematch. But from such a one-sided performance, it's hard, besides him becoming world champion again, it's hard for me to say, you know, I want to see it.
Gotcha.